We can see you and hear you, Jack. Can you see and hear us?
Never mind, Jack. You hear us, Jack?
You guys talking to me? I can't hear anything.
Yeah, we're talking to you.
I've got technical
Janet.
assistance here.
We can see you. Hi, Janet.
Select the speaker. Oh.
Hello, John.
Good evening, all.
How are you?
Good.
Looks like it's going to cool down for the next few days.
I hope so. Good Lord.
All right. We lost Jack.
Yeah, I think Janet's trying to rejuvenate his
Ah,
sign up.
okay.
Hello, Jack.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you also.
All right.
Give Rick. Oh, hey, Rick.
Hi.
I'm just looking for a. You guys have a copy of what Mike already had sent as a recommendation of materials that could be purchased?
Yeah, I can
I-
pull it up and do a screen share if nobody else has it. I just have to
I
find
see.
it.
I didn't find it when I was looking through things today.
Yeah, I know I had one here, but I'm on my 16 inches high paperwork. I can't seem to find it.
Yep.
L2 to Sharon Fire, Sharon Ambulance, Ocean Dive Team, Roman Dutch Paramedics, standby for dispatch, 142 Brush Pond Road.
Uh-oh.
Well, let's give it. Well, we got, oh, there's Ed. We got all 5 of us. I guess we can Call this August 13th
Right.
meeting to order. It is 5:33. Evening, Ed, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. First up, have you guys all looked over the minutes for the last meeting?
Yes.
Anyone want to place a motion to approve them?
I move we accept the minutes as read.
And do we
Second.
have all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's good. One down, two down. Next on the agenda is an update from Mike Doherty, which he is on vacation now. So the update, he has sent, I think everyone should have the copies of his schedules, not schedules, but the construction costs, I guess, for 341. Although I'm not sure that matters all at this point. I think I'd like to shuffle this around and put something ahead of that we were going to talk about at the last meeting. As we had a Zoom meeting on Friday, July 10th, with Anna Bergeron, Gina Grinalch, and Jean Speck, and Joyce, were you on that one, or just Barbara?
Just Barbara.
Just Barbara and Barbara Hirsch. That meeting was concerning the grants. They specify, and we learned that day more about the connectivity grant than we did the other grant. The connectivity grant expires in 3 years, but with the wording on the application, I think you guys all got a copy of this, of the summary of it, and then Mike Doherty sent a reply to that. The connectivity grant, due to the wording, is specified from the monument to the tracks. So that's where that's supposed to be spent. We can ask them to change that, but that involves a little more, and we'll get into that in a minute. As far as the other grant, and we have 3 years for that one. Now, the grant that expires, Gene, what's the name of that grant? Do you remember? It's a HUD grant?
Of course, as soon as you said it, it went right on my head. The Main Street Investment Fund, right? Is that
Okay.
yeah,
So
there's the
that-
Main Street Investment Fund and the Community Connectivity Grant.
Yeah, well, the connectivity grant, we can change if we wish, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Now, the other grant, Barbara she did email, she read me the email that she sent them requesting information concerning that grant. And as of today, I haven't heard from her whether she heard back from them or not. So I don't know what's going on with that grant. As far as that grant, we know was also worded to be used between the monument and the tracks, and not the whole project. So we don't know if that can be changed or not. So I don't know what's going on with that. And as far as the grants go, the environmental screening was only done also from the monument to the tracks. So the environmental screening is not complete for the whole project either. But if we use the 2 grants for that area, according to Gina Grinalch, we do not have to do an environmental screening on the self-funded areas. Is that what you got out of it too, Gene?
Yeah, basically there's like specific deliverables that are specific to the grants that are not necessarily required if you're not spending grant funds.
Right.
So yeah.
That's what she said. We didn't have to, we wouldn't have to do an environmental screening for one thing. If if we're funding it ourselves. So if we use the 2 grants on Main Street and we're using our own money on the others, it would speed things up there. I think she said, let me just look back at,
And Mike, sorry for
Each-
interrupting. That thing that I'm looking for to screen share, was that in the content of an email or was it an attachment?
it might have been an attachment. I'm not sure.
Okay,
to be
I'll
honest with you.
keep digging. Okay.
Okay, so Gina thinks we would only need an encroachment permit for the work in the other areas instead of having to go through the environmental screening. But she also said it might be a different person, a different entity in the state to deal with, and she didn't know which at that point.
What did you mean things might get streamlined? If we use the grants for Route 7 North, we've already done the environmental screening there.
Yes,
Right.
we have. Yes.
Has that been approved by the state? Reviewed and approved?
No, Mike had not at that point.
Yeah.
He may have since it. I haven't seen an email where he sent them the 50% drawing for that.
Yeah. Okay.
I think he's now just working on the whole project as it works best for him.
Okay. Yep.
So
For the minutes, what was the date of that conference call or Zoom meeting, whatever? it was?
July, it was on August 10th, I think. Just a minute.
July 31st, so hold on.
No, it was Friday.
It was a Friday.
It was Friday, so that's the 31st then, I guess.
Okay, thanks.
Friday, 7:31 at 9 a.m.
Okay. Thank you.
Wrong day there.
Yeah.
Y'all are running together these days.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So again, we don't have a response concerning the other grant. We don't have, we can't use the connectivity grant on the other streets unless we apply for a change in that. And that would then require an environmental screening on those sections,
Yeah.
which of course is more time. Now, what I did ask Mike Dougherty, and he did supply, and I apologize for me not being able to find it. Well, actually, here it is. Never mind. It was an email, and it was to the whole committee. You should have gotten it.
Oh, what was the date of this?
Tuesday, August 4th.
I did find that with the list of potential items that could be purchased with DOH funds prior to construction.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
So I thought we'd talk about that because that's the, if you have to spend that grant money, this is your only chance, I think. According to Mike Dougherty and Gina, it didn't sound like we were going to be breaking ground anytime this year on anything. I
Yeah.
don't recall. Eugene? Rick,
Yeah.
you were there.
Yeah. Do you want me to do a screen share on that email so you guys can all see it?
I did find it. It's like the third email down in a chain there on the
Yeah.
fourth. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it up on my screen also.
There it is, if you guys want to look at it.
Okay.
All right, so we can purchase the granite curbing, but can we purchase all of the granite curbing? Or I know I didn't get, I was hoping to ask him these questions tonight. Can we only purchase the granite curbing from the monument to the tracks? That was, again, I didn't realize he was vacationing today.
That
Yeah.
might actually be a question for Gina and Anna, possibly, right? Because
We can, that'd be fine.
Well, I've
Am I
got a
good?
couple of concerns about the purchase of materials. Number one, does it go out to bid? And once you select somebody's got to do submittals before you can purchase anything. Who's going to do the submittals?
Repeat the last part of your transmission.
And then you got the problem of storing it, and it's, the contractor has to then go pick it up and bring it to where he needs it. It just seems
Well,
like.
I agree with you. I do have an email from also, we got another email from Mike Doherty on August 3rd. And it said, Mike, I spoke with our head of transportation, and he confirmed that pre-purchasing of material, while not typical, is also not uncommon. He brought up the same concerns we have discussed in terms of supply, delivery, and storage. He also made a good point that the town will take on all liability if for whatever reason the product fails or there is an issue with it. The town alone will have to deal with the supplier. If the town does purchase with any material, we think it's a good idea to allow prospective bidders an opportunity to look the material over, or to be told, or be told the supplier. I'm not sure what. Or just let them know who the supplier is. I see it on the board. Or is that it?
Yeah, that looks like roughly the same.
Yeah, that's the same thing. So, although he says it happens, it makes the town liable for everything concerning it.
Rescue. En route 115 7044.
And I agree with Jack. I mean, where would we put it? Although I guess that's not our problem, that's the town's problem. But, and I had mentioned, I guess that area where the tennis court is, that's deeded for recreation. Is that right, Rick?
Yeah, but we've used it before with permission from the Park and Rec Commission, so.
Yeah. What about to the left of it where the woods are between there and the transfer station?
Pretty much all trees and big rocks, and so that's, by the time you try to clear that out.
I would think that if we leveled that out real quick, that could be a good storage place, and then it could be after this project, it could be a good storage place for all the stuff in front of the town garage.
I have to look, I forget where the property line is for the actual garage property compared to the park property, so I'd have to check that to make sure that.
Is the transfer station part of the garage property, or is that part of the rec property?
It's garage property, but.
Well, that would be my idea, but I would also think that whoever does bid this, they're going to want a working area.
Yeah.
Staging area, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna need some place to stage some of their materials and their probably machinery or tools or whatever. And rather than them having to rent a piece from somebody, wouldn't it be great if the town had something that they owned that they wouldn't have to rent? Or we wouldn't have to rent for them. But that's whether we buy the materials up front or wait until the contractors get the materials. But either way, wouldn't it save costs if we had a place to put it for them to stage their work?
Can I ask just a question? It might be a dumb question. Can we pre-purchase without it being delivered?
Happens if they go bankrupt.
Well, I agree. That's why I said it might be a dumb question. I'm just asking.
Oh, it's not
That
a
would
good question, because I had the same question myself. When I started thinking about it, there's so many safeguards on these municipal projects that paying for something in advance is something, I don't think it ever happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't get paid until they deliver. Even then, they don't get paid in full. There's retainage.
I would also say we might be able to store something on the fire department gravel parking lot over the winter, because we really don't use that in the winter time, but I would have to get permission, and sometimes they fight and scream and yell about people using it. It's been rented in the past, that spot, that dirt spot.
That parking area between you and the firehouse and Templeton Farms?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, this is just for us to give the selectmen, of course, there are two selectmen at this meeting right now. As part of our recommendation, I think it's our responsibility to bring this to their attention that no matter what, whether the town buys the materials or the contractors do, they're going to need a staging area. And if they have to rent one, such as Susie Williams' lot right across from Napa, or one of Casey's pieces of property, that will just add to the cost.
Yeah. Did,
More about on the like 17.
how much would the materials be? We talked about this last time, and I don't remember if we ever figured out.
Well,
From the monument to the tracks is what we would need to purchase to satisfy the Department of Housing connectivity grant, right?
right. So I do not have those quantities from Mike Doherty. I only have Bridge Street and 341 East.
Yeah.
That's all. I think that's all any of us have gotten from him.
Yeah.
I
think
I'd
we.
be happy. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, John.
I think we were thinking that would be quite a bit short of the what is it, 450,000, whatever it is. But it would indicate some seriousness on the town's part, a commitment on the town's part, in asking for an extension for whatever the balance would be. And I certainly think the town's going to do, with or without that grant, the town's going to do a substantial amount of sidewalk improvement. I don't see a downside to buying those materials. I agree that we're not going to get a shovel in the ground this year. But making the commitment would likely improve the chances of an extension on that grant.
Well, I think you're probably right on that. Again, it's a location and the town liability, and just as Jack was asking, does it go out to bid?
Mm-hmm.
Does it, or do they just buy it? I mean, do they go by DOT specs and let, I'm sure Rick knows that. Other than Mountaintop, Rick, who would you suggest for base for this?
I don't even know if Mountaintop passes the state specs. They'd have to prove it.
Somebody would have to
Go as the middle.
bid it, and then they'd have to submit all the requirements for approval.
Right.
So I ask about the submittal documents. That's the normal procedure on this type of project. You could buy it and then find out later that it doesn't meet the DOT requirements.
Well, we know what the requirements are. They're in the 816, and Mike can specify that or anything, but strangely enough, the stuff at Century passes and other areas, places around here don't.
Yeah.
Century passed? Would that fall apart, Sandy shed of theirs? Oh, excuse me, sorry.
Well, what they say passes a state spec, they say is actually marble chip.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like limestone, but it's.
They call it marble?
Soft.
We lost you, Rick.
Is there a threshold at which you have to put it out to bid, like $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever?
Yes.
What is that threshold?
Joyce, do you remember what the number is?
It'll be between 5,000 and 10,000, depending upon what department it comes out of. So
that's pretty much everything in the project then.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'd have to advertise for bids, select a bidder. They'd have to put in the submittal documents. They'd have to be reviewed and approved. The material would have to be delivered, and then it would have to be billed. And the date for that is, what is it, August or October?
Has to be paid. No, November 15th.
November 15th.
It has to be paid in a receipt for that.
Well, I would almost say we're almost too late to even do that.
I believe Barbara was gonna ask him if we had to order like the granite, if that could be, not all delivered at the purchase time, but if we could do a PO with them. I don't know if she's heard back from them yet or not, but
You still have to get competitive prices, don't you, to be able to spend the money?
yeah, I mean, I think we could get that out and get it back. And if we could create a PO, because, I mean, how many suppliers of granite are there around this area? It's probably
can't
maybe
be
four
many.
or five at the most in the New England.
Yeah, that's the kind of material that it'd be pretty easy for them to put a bid together, I would think. You know, lineal footage of pretty standard stuff.
Money for tree removal and stuff like that would be a little bit, I think, more difficult because you're gonna have to get permission from homeowners or property owners if they aren't in the right of way.
So, does the Board of Selectmen have that list?
I don't know if Mike separated it off the plans yet. It's all on the plans, I believe.
The list of the homeowners for the,
The list of the homeowners who have trees or shrubbery that are involved in this project.
yeah, for the temporary easements, yeah, it's already been sent to Randy. I'm sorry, Randy DeBella for our town attorney.
Okay, so
Is that
So
the list
he's-
for the entire project?
It was the first list, and then I just saw that there was a second list for South Main Street. So I'll forward that to him as well.
Okay.
That screenshot you gave us before with the quantities or the bid items that we could buy,
Yep,
that had tree removal on it.
yep.
So Mike did say on that whether it was just the Bridge Street, South Main, what he was doing there, or was it?
The email doesn't specify an area. It just says tree
Uh,
removal. Sorry.
Yeah, but the dollar number, did it have just a blank number or number of trees or anything like that?
In the
Looking at a
email,
different screen now. In the screenshot you did earlier with the cost estimates for the material that we could purchase.
there were no, in
No
the
quantity,
email that he
just
sent
the-
on the 4th,
just-
there wasn't
he
anything.
just suggested it, that's all. He suggested that we could get people to remove the trees and grind the stumps and do, get the preliminary work done. But he didn't give a list of those particular ones. But even if you did the protection of the trees that are to be protected, it's way in advance. If you're not going to do any work around those trees till next spring, I would think some of that protection would be pretty well knocked over or in danger of not being kept intact all winter. So is it worth doing that? Taking the trees down, I think it might be worth doing, but
Yeah, I mean, even the protection stuff, we bought the materials, that was didn't erect it till they started, but it's not gonna be a big number, but just some posts and fencing, but I think we're just trying to figure out areas that we could get, spend some money, so.
yeah. What are we saving by doing this?
Just the
$500,000
grant.
grant.
Some of it, right?
All of it, if we don't have it spent, if they require that we have it done by this year, then it's gotta be done. I think Barbara's mentioned a few times that they're trying to close out the monies and do that whole grant system.
Right.
So it sounds like they're trying to,
Well, I understand that. I'm just, it doesn't seem to me that we're going to be able to spend all that much of it, especially if it's directed towards the monument to the tracks. So I guess we take what we can get. Is that what we're thinking here?
Yeah, maybe get some pricing from Mike.
Well, I think you're beyond the pricing from Mike. If you're going to do this, you got to get pricing from people who would be supplying these materials and people who would be supplying the services with the tree removal. I think that Mike is just doing the best he can, you know, his best estimations on numbers. But the only way you're going to really know is to put it out to bid.
Well, if we get the spec from him and the lineal footage that we need, then we can send it out.
Well,
Because
I
we already
think
have
he had
the- Oh, sorry.
what's that?
Nope, sorry, go ahead.
Gene, you muted before you finished what you were saying.
No, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay. So as a committee, do we want to recommend to the selectmen that they look at Mike's list here and that they put these things out to bid and get real numbers and try and get some of this done?
Yes.
I think we should request that they, go to bid on anything that's possible to go to bid on now to
Yep.
spend whatever grant money that we can before it does expire.
I so move.
So was that a motion and was that a second?
Yes. I just made it into a motion.
Okay, let's state your motion clearly, please.
Okay. I moved that we ask the Board of Selectmen to proceed with to go out to bid for whatever materials are possible to satisfy the community connectivity grant this year. Does that cover it?
I think so. Any discussion? Anyone else have anything to add to this?
Maybe it should not only say materials, but any services also,
There we go. Yep.
so we can get tree crews, or if we need any more survey or testing or anything like that, we can get all that done.
Yep.
Do we have a second on that?
Second,
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I think that's 5.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so that would be everything on this list that we all have from Mike Doherty, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That plus if we can figure anything else out, right?
somebody ought to do a timeline on this.
Anywhere we can.
What's that, Jack?
I said, somebody ought to do a timeline on this, because if they don't put it out to bid, in my opinion, by like September 1st, they're not going to be able to get to the finish line at November 31st.
Well, I don't know how long Mike Doherty's on. I'm assuming that he would be the one writing up the bid papers, right, Gene?
More than likely, because he would be supplying the spec, so you might as well just do the bid.
Well, I think it's right in his contract that the bid papers are
Yeah.
part of his contract.
Mhm.
So when is the next selectmen's meeting?
Tuesday,
This coming?
this coming.
Yes.
Okay, then we will have a written recommendation for the selectmen. And I'm assuming that Mike, being he left on vacation yesterday, he probably won't be here by Tuesday, but then it'll be in the selectmen's hands, correct?
Right.
Okay,
I think
Now-
the authorization has to come from the Board of Selectmen. But
Yeah.
let's visit the idea again that you, Mike Gobble, can make the phone calls and keep on top of this and line it up. If anything's going to happen, it really does things have to start clicking into place with the timeline, as Jack's talking about.
but lining it up would require the bid sheets and everything too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but
Give some
those
people a heads up.
those phone calls to check, how Mike's doing.
Yeah.
And
Well, again, he's on
does
vacation,
this
so,
satisfy? Does it not satisfy? Who else has to
okay.
be?
I would be happy to call Gina and/or Anna tomorrow and see if they can answer the couple of questions like,
Yeah.
well, first and foremost is, do we have to only buy materials for that section, or can we buy materials for the whole project and use
Yeah.
that grant?
Yeah.
Well, we're
Correct.
talking two different grants, Mike, remember, so.
Yes, I
If
know.
we're only trying to get rid of that connectivity grant, that's not Gina or Anna.
The connectivity grant is Gina,
No, the
yes?
what
The other
name of it?
grant is not Gina. Gina and Anna are the connectivity grant. That's why we know more about that one than we
Well,
do the other one.
All right, that's the one that doesn't expire. The one from the Department of Housing is the one that we're worried about, and that's
Right, okay.
Is that
Well,
that-
that's-
so
Isn't
that's
that
the one that we have to get the money
Okay.
spent on.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
sorry.
if-
Is that the connectivity grant? I've
No,
got
the
that.
connectivity grant is the one that's 3 years. Rick is right. My mistake.
Right.
So-
We're
so what
worried
I would-
about the Main Street invest, or Main Street, whatever it's called.
Okay. So as
I
far
would-
as that other grant, the only person that they really want to talk to is Barbara Hurst.
Correct.
So I know that because, they, just like everyone else, just like I'm supposed to be the only contact for our committee to the state and to Mike Doherty, she is the only contact for that grant.
Okay.
So I'll try and touch base with her tomorrow and see how she did, because she did read me her email to them 2 weeks ago, almost. And I have not heard from her, so I'm guessing that there's nothing been said about it, or no returns. So I'll check in with her tomorrow on that. And as far as the aggregates go, I think that I can come up with people that we could ask to bid on this. That we can suggest to the selectmen that they ask to bid. I can touch base with different entities and let them know that what's going on, and that hopefully our select people will be contacting them to ask them to bid. It has to be publicized, am I right?
Yeah, Joyce, can you just like briefly outline, I mean, it has to be a public transparent process, and there's like specific,
I don't know the specifics of the grant. The grant may have specifics.
so just for a general, when we're doing an RFP, it has to get advertised and.
It does, but it depends also. I mean, if there's only 3 suppliers in the area, then we just reach out to them. So depending upon what you're sending the RFP out for, you may do something where you put it in the newspaper, or you may just solicit certain vendors that you know are in the area that are going to be able to provide the product within your timeline.
So if I went to 3 or 4 of the areas, what as a contractor I consider the best around, and suggested to them that we are going to recommend them to the Board of Selectmen, is that legitimate?
Well, no, we need to do more than just those based on your recommendation. We would also have to put it in the paper, or,
Yeah, it has to be totally transparent. And there's.
I'm not trying to hide anything, Gene.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm not at all
Right,
saying.
that's not appropriate, Mike.
But,
Yeah.
okay.
And if you're only
That's
getting,
fine.
Not appropriate.
if you're
Well,
only getting
then
named for
fine.
a bidder list, there's nothing wrong with that, but just asking to submit a number until the bid's out, you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm just
Well, I
reading
wasn't
through the
asking-
grant conditions.
I wasn't asking for anything other than giving them a heads up and making sure that they would have the DOT spec materials before we gave the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
We also need to find out with that particular grant from them if they said in the grant what specs you have to go by. If they didn't, then I would assume Mike would say go with the state 816 specs, but there may be some latitude there for going to other stuff too.
Okay, so well, basically it's up to Barbara to find out what the specs are in this grant then, right?
Yeah, well, if you talk to her tomorrow, ask her if there's, or we can pull out I think we all got a copy of that grant, but I don't know if we got all the wording on it or not, or just the application and the award letter.
That's all I've seen.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. Yeah, I'd have to spend more time on it. It's like an 11-page document.
Okay, so let's just leave it at this. Our board will recommend what we have voted on, and really, there's nobody I can call other than Barbara to see if she's had any luck with the other grant, getting information. And Mike Doherty's on vacation, so hopefully he'll touch base, or I'll email him. Of course, everyone will see the email and ask him to just touch base when he's done back to work.
Okay.
That would be
Did Mike give us anybody else in the office that could answer questions or anything, or just him?
None that I know of.
All right. I'm sure there's other, people working on this in his office with him. But
Yeah, he hasn't named it, other than speaking with his head of transportation about the pre-purchasing. That's the only other person that I've heard him mention.
all right.
And they do have an engineer. I think her name was involved here a while back too. She might be someone that I can talk to concerning the materials and all.
Yep.
So I will search her name, which I'm sure I have it here not too far away, and contact her tomorrow.
Okay, let me clarify. The Department of Housing grant is not the connectivity grant,
No, it is not.
but the Department of Housing grant is the one that will expire.
Yes,
Correct.
it is.
Okay. Because my motion said the community connectivity grant.
So the that DOH fund is, grant is called the Main Street Investment Fund Program.
Main Street Investment Fund?
Yeah.
So we need to redo your motion,
Yes.
or do we just make a motion to accept the change in the motion for the grant name?
I will second that motion, Mike.
Okay, then I make it an official motion that we accept the change of the name of the grant in John's motion to the Board of Selectmen. From the connectivity grant to the Main Street, what is it?
Investment.
Main Street Investment Fund.
Main Street Investment Fund. Do we have a second on it, John?
Yes, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'd also like it to make a motion that we suggest the town prepare a place for the materials, whether they're purchased now or whether they're purchased by the contractors later. Because if we don't, they're going to have to rent some space, and that will be added to the costs.
Would that come, could that rental cost come out of this grant that we're trying to use money for?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
We can,
So assume so, because she put in for anything for construction purposes, so.
Okay.
If that's required for construction, then yes.
Okay.
but why pay rent if you don't have to?
Right.
Right.
Do you want the motion to state that the town prepares that site or?
That we
investigate?
suggest, I make a motion that we should, along with our other motion, that we suggest to the town that they prepare a staging area
Okay.
to hopefully help save
Yep.
money.
Okay. I will second that.
I haven't heard a second, so I guess it's not a good motion.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jack, did you say anything?
Yes, I said aye.
That's
Didn't hear
I
you.
got a spot to put the stuff.
Speak up over there.
Yeah, we could put it on Maple Street Extension. You could pay us in advance for the next 2 years.
Sounds like a good plan to me. So, so the selections meeting is next Tuesday? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
What time is that meeting?
6:30.
Joyce, can we be on that agenda so we can present our recommendations, please?
You're already on it.
All right.
I figured you were way ahead of me on that.
And
Tuesday
I
at
would
6:30.
consider it like a standing item for the next many, many months. So you always
Good.
have a spot.
So, okay.
Good.
So I guess after that meeting, we'll have to, when do you guys want to meet again?
Assuming Mike Doherty's back next week, I think maybe we ought to try to meet next Thursday again.
So why don't, I don't think I want to schedule until we're sure when he's back.
Okay.
That sounds good.
If we want to have him involved, I agree we should,
Yeah.
but I think we should wait till we're sure he's back to
Okay.
schedule.
Yep. Does next
Okay,
Thursday
so
work
at
for
this-
people if he's available?
Pardon me?
I'm wondering if next Thursday works for everyone if Mike's available.
Works for me.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm
Okay.
good.
Good.
Okay, so we can tentatively schedule for next Thursday, providing Mike Doherty's available?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sounds good. 5:30?
Yep.
Okay. Before we adjourn, anybody else have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Then I move, we adjourn this meeting.
So move.
We don't have to vote on that?
No,
No,
you don't even have to second adjournment.
nope.
What do you know? I thought this was a democracy.
You can just freely adjourn.
Yeah, well, let's consider this meeting over. Thank you, guys and lady.
All right.
Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Joyce, thank you for setting this up for us.
Yep.